The hissing started before I even reached work. Not from one place, from everywhere. A bus stop speaker, a passing taxi radio, a store intercom across the street. The same sound. A long, wet hiss, like someone trying to whisper through broken teeth. Earlier that afternoon, I had stopped by a local history museum. I was killing time before my night shift at a 24-hour convenience store. That's where I found the object. It was small, clay, about the size of a thumb. It looked like a crude little figure with no face. No one was around. I slipped it into my pocket. I don't know why. Walking through the evening city felt normal at first. Cars passed, people talked, stores were closing, but every few minutes I heard that hissing sound again. A burst of static, then the hiss. The first time, I assumed it came from a damaged speaker. The second time, it came from a different street. The third time, it followed me for 3 blocks. I started paying attention. Whenever the sound appeared, people nearby acted completely normal. Nobody looked up, nobody reacted, only me. I reached the store a little before 10. My coworker had already left. I was alone until morning. The shift started quietly. Customers came and went. The radio behind the counter played old songs. For almost an hour, nothing happened. Then the music cut out. Static filled the store. A long hiss. I froze. A man's voice came through, calm, clear.
"Put it back."
The radio went silent. I stared at it. A few seconds later, the music returned. I laughed nervously. Maybe some weird broadcast, maybe a prank. At midnight, it happened again. Static, hiss.
"Put it back."
This time the voice sounded closer, like it was standing behind me. I turned around. Nobody was there. At 2 in the morning, every speaker in the store activated at once. The radio, the security monitor, the self-checkout, even the old emergency speaker near the ceiling, all of them hissed together. Then dozens of overlapping voices spoke. "Put it back." I dropped the box I was stocking. The voices stopped instantly. The silence that followed felt wrong, heavy, like the entire building was holding its breath. Then I noticed something on the security monitor. A customer standing near the back aisle, tall, motionless, watching me. I looked toward the aisle. Nobody. I looked back at the monitor. Still there. The figure slowly raised one arm, pointing directly at my pocket. My stomach dropped. I pulled out the clay object for the first time since leaving the museum. The moment it touched my hand, a memory surfaced. A museum label, something I had barely glanced at. Ceremonial guardian figure, recovered from an ancient burial site, returned to the grave after disturbances were reported. My blood ran cold. The monitor went black. Every speaker in the store screamed one final sentence.
"It does not belong to you."
I left work at sunrise. I drove straight to the museum. The staff hadn't arrived yet. The building was still locked. I sat in my car for a minute, staring at the clay figure in my hand. The hissing hadn't stopped. It seemed to be coming from everywhere now. The radio, the parking lot speakers, even the static from my phone. I got out, walked to the front entrance, and placed the figure directly against the museum doors. Then I backed away. The moment I stepped off the front steps, the hissing stopped. Completely. The silence felt almost unreal. I stood there for a few seconds, waiting for it to start again. It never did, or at least I thought it never did. Because sometimes during quiet nights at the store, the radio crackles for a second, And through the static, I still hear a voice checking, making sure it's still there. The first crow hit the car so hard it sounded like someone had thrown a brick at the windshield. I was working the overnight shift at a suburban impound lot, watching over rows of police-towed vehicles. To this day, I still get chills whenever a flock of crows lands near my car. The lot sat at the edge of town, surrounded by overgrown trees and rusted chain-link fences. Most nights were quiet. That evening, a fresh batch of seized vehicles had arrived. One of them caught my attention immediately, a dark sedan, old, battered. Mud splashed across the doors. Nothing unusual about that. Still, every time I looked through the guard shack window, my eyes drifted back to it. Around 2 a.m., I heard something tapping against the glass. I looked up. A few crows sat on the power lines above the lot. I remember thinking it was strange. Crows weren't usually active that late. I went back to my paperwork. A minute later, the tapping returned. This time, there were more of them. Dozens. They lined the fences and tree branches surrounding the property, completely still, watching. I stepped outside. The birds didn't move. Hundreds of dark eyes seemed fixed on the rows of cars. A cold feeling settled into my stomach. I told myself I was being paranoid. Then the noise started. One crow cried out, another answered. Then hundreds joined in. The sound exploded across the night, a wall of frantic cawing, so loud it drowned out everything else. I backed toward the shack. The birds suddenly launched into the air, all of them. The entire flock rose at once. Black wings filled the sky. They circled above the lot in a massive spiral, round and round, faster, tighter. The moon vanished behind a storm of feathers. I stood frozen, trying to make sense of it. Then something happened that I still can't explain. Every crow in the sky suddenly turned toward the same spot, the dark sedan, at the exact same time. Then the pattern broke. A crow folded its wings, dropped, straight toward the car. Its body slammed into the roof. Another followed, then another, and another. Within seconds, dozens were falling from the sky, not attacking, not landing, crashing like stones. The impacts echoed across the asphalt. Metal rang, glass cracked, feathers exploded everywhere. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The birds were killing themselves, one after another, straight into that car. Adrenaline finally kicked in. I grabbed the shotgun we kept for emergencies and ran outside. The flock kept diving, bodies hitting metal, blood streaking down the doors. I aimed upward and fired. The blast shattered the chaos. A second shot followed. The remaining birds scattered instantly. Gone, just gone. The silence that followed felt wrong, oppressive, as if the entire lot was holding its breath. I walked toward the sedan. My boots crunched over feathers. Dead crows covered the ground. The roof was dented. The windshield was cracked. Blood dripped slowly down the hood. I didn't stay near it long. When morning came, I checked the intake paperwork. I wanted to know where that car had come from. The report didn't say much. The sedan had been recovered from an abandoned farmhouse across the state line. The property had been empty for years. The owner had disappeared long before the vehicle was found. No arrests, no suspects, no explanation. Just one note stating that the car had been discovered behind the house with all 4 doors standing open. I quit the job the next day. As far as I know, the sedan is still sitting in that lot. Nobody wanted to move it. And every few months, according to an old co-worker, they still find fresh black feathers around it, even though there aren't any crows nearby. The dent on Unit 47 wasn't there 30 minutes earlier. I knew that for a fact because I had checked every aisle before starting my patrol. The metal door had been perfectly smooth. Now there was a deep, fist-sized dent bulging outward, like something had slammed into it from the inside. I was working alone that night at a massive self-storage facility on the edge of town. Hundreds of units stretched beneath a single warehouse roof. Most shifts were painfully boring. Usually the hardest part of the job was staying awake. That night was different. I stopped in front of Unit 47 and stared at the damage. The hallway was silent. Then a metallic bang echoed through the building. The sound was so loud it made me jump. A second later, another one followed. It sounded like a sledgehammer hitting sheet metal. I backed away from the door and pulled up the security feed on my phone. The camera pointed directly at Unit 47. The corridor was empty. No movement, no people, nothing. Then I heard another impact. At the exact same moment, I watched the door on the screen flex outward, not inward, outward. The steel bulged into the hallway before snapping back into place. My stomach tightened. Unit 47 belonged to a tenant who had stopped paying months earlier. Management had already scheduled the contents for auction the following week. Nobody should have been inside. I kept watching. A few minutes passed. Then at exactly 2:17 a.m., a new sound rolled through the corridor. A long scraping noise, metal dragging across concrete. The microphone picked it up clearly. The door bulged again. Once, twice, 3 times. Each movement looked stronger than the last. The heavy padlock hanging from the latch rattled violently. For a second, I honestly thought the whole door was going to tear off its hinges. Then everything stopped. The pressure vanished. The corridor went completely silent. I didn't care how crazy it sounded. I called the police. When the officers arrived, I showed them the footage. None of them had an explanation. They cut the bent padlock and pulled the door open. Every flashlight beam swept through the unit. Nothing moved. There was no person, no animal, no hidden room, just stacks of dusty boxes, broken furniture, old mattresses, and years of forgotten junk. Then one of the officers called us over. Leaning against the back wall was a large oil painting. It looked old, really old. The portrait showed a man staring directly forward with an expression that made me uncomfortable for reasons I still can't explain. One officer stepped closer, grabbed the frame and turned it around. Everyone went quiet. Scratched deeply into the back of the canvas was a single sentence. "The lock was for you." Nobody said anything for several seconds. One officer eventually laughed and called it a prank, but his voice sounded forced. A week later, the contents of Unit 47 were sold at auction. The furniture, the boxes, the painting. I don't know who bought it, and honestly, I'm just glad it wasn't me.